Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about Anastasia. Now, Anastasia starts off with a narration with Anastasia's grandmother, the Empress, explaining the year was 1916 and her son Nicholas was the Tsar of Russia, and they were celebrating the 109th anniversary of their family rule, and no star burned brighter than that of our dear Anastasia, her youngest granddaughter. Now, Anastasia begged her not to return to Paris. So Anastasia's grandmother, the Grand Empress, had a special gift made for her to make the separation easier for both of them. So she gives her a music box. And in the ballroom, watching this exchange, is a little boy named Dmitri. Now, keep this in mind because he will be coming up shortly. So, while the party is going on, we meet Rasputin. They thought that he was a holy man, but he was a fraud, a power man and dangerous. And so he tell so so Nicholas, the grandson of the Empress, tells him to get out, that he is no longer welcome here, and that he is a traitor. And then he says, I will not rest until I see the end of the Romanov family forever. So he puts up his green staff, and then the power comes out of the green staff, and it breaks the chandelier. And with that in mind, with the power of the green, um, well, not staff. I'm sorry, reliquary. So, with the power of the reliquary, green bats came out of the reliquary that night, and they broke the chandelier. And so, Rasputin sold his soul to get more green bats to put into his reliquary, so he could destroy Anastasia's family. And so, when this was happening, there was actually a war happening also. And so they had to evacuate the castle. They had to, like, literally evacuate the castle. And then Anastasia realizes that she forgot her music box. So she goes back for it. And then her grandmother tells her to wait. Anastasia, come back, wait. So she grabs the music box. While all this is going on, while a war is going on outside, she tries to grab it real quick, and then Dmitri knows that someone is coming, so Dmitri saves Anya and her grandmother by saying, "Quick, go this way, out the servants' quarters," because there's a secret passageway in all castles behind paintings. So Dmitri pushes them out to go out the servants' quarters, while Anya says, "My music box." And then Dmitri says, "Go, go." And honestly, I'm with Dmitri on this one. I mean, I love every necklace, every bracelet I get. But if this is like a war going on outside, girl, just just forget the music box. But maybe I'm thinking too much. I mean, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Would you would you yourself go back for jury or a music box when you were on its age, but there was another situation going on? Like, I understand why she did it, but I'm like, girl, there is some things going on outside. We really need to go right now. I'm really, really sorry about that music box, but we need to go. So anyway, so anyway, so anyway, so while they go run outside, Rasputin catches them, but he falls into ice, and then while he is falling and crumbling under the ice, he tries to grab onto Anastasia's leg, but she escapes by kicking him into the water. And um, we meet his back in in and we meet his little bat called Bartok, who was his sidekick. Bartok is his sidekick. So that day, when Rasputin was drowning, he said Bartok, and then Bartok said Master, and yeah. He went under the water, and Bartok, he was just not strong enough to save him, cause he was just a little about like this small. He was like a little about like this small. So so they get to the train, and and the and the and the and the and the grandmother says, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then when they get on the train, the grandmother makes it, but Anastasia don't. And so the grandmother says, hang on to my hand. And so Anastasia tries to hang on to her hand, and Anastasia says, don't let go. But someone runs into her, and then they knock her, and then they push her to the ground, knocking her out. And then the grandmother cries, Anastasia! And that is the end of that scene. And the grandmother's voiceover says, so many lives, uh, so many lives were destroyed that night. Were destroyed that night. What I now believe was gone forever. And my Anastasia, my beloved grandchild, I never saw her again. And then we cut to the title of Anastasia. And here we are in Russia. And they are singing Hallelujah. They're the rumor in St. Petersburg. And the rumor is that the Princess Anastasia survived, and whoever finds her will win a $100 reward. Now, keep this in mind. And while they are singing, we meet Dmitri and Glad, who are on a mission to find a girl because they want that reward money. So they are on a mission to find an Anastasia look-like. And and Dimitri says, "Glad, just think. No more fortune papers, no more stolen goods. We'll have 3 tickets out of here. One for you, one for me, and one for Anastasia." And then they finish the song. They're the rumor in St. Petersburg. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was a kid, this was my favorite movie, so I know every song by heart. I know every song by heart. Like, I know every song by heart. Like, I watch it all the time. Even now, I watch it all the time. So anyway, so anyway, when the song is over, we actually meet on her way to the fish market. We actually meet Anya, who we actually meet the orphan Anya, who is Anastasia. and um and she still had the necklace that her grandmother had given to her, and keep this in mind because the necklace will come back later as I go on. So coffin flavor cough, the lady who raised Anya said that she got her a job in the fish factory, and she and all Anya needs to do is go to the left until she reaches the fork in the road. Go left, but since she is saying goodbye to everybody in the orphanage, the lady doesn't think she's listening. And then the lady says, "You've been a thorn in my side since you were brought here. For the last 10 years, I fed you, I clothed you, I kept a roof." And then Anya says, "You kept a roof over my head." And this is when the lady says, "Ha! How is it you can remember who you were before you came to us, but you can remember all that." And then Anya says that she does have a clue to who she was because she still has the necklace and it says "Together in Paris." So the lady says, "So you want to go to France? You want to go to France to find your family, huh?" And then Anya says, "Mm-hmm." And and then and and then and 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 then the lady says, "Haha, little Mazania, it's time to take your place in life. And life and in line and be grateful too." And with that, she closes the gate on Anastasia, throwing her scarf at her, and Anastasia mocks her as she walks in the snow, and she says that she is grateful enough to get away. And then and then Anya says, "Go left." She said to go left, but if I go right, maybe I can find whoever gave whoever gave me this necklace must have loved me. So she's confused. She doesn't know what to do, and 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 in this conflict, and in this con, and in this con, and with her being so confused, she says, "Send me a sign, a hint, anything." So, in a couple of minutes, a little puppy just pops up, and then the little puppy starts playing with her scarf. And then Anya says, "Oh, can you please just leave me alone?" And then when Anya tries to get her scarf back, the dog points the scarf to St. Petersburg. And then she realizes that that is her hint right there. So she starts to sing On This Journey to the Past, which is my favorite song in the movie. She says On This Journey to the Past. And then she makes it to Paris. But when she gets in line and asks for one ticket to Paris, please, the guy says Extra visa, and then Anya just repeats back, extra visa, and then he says no extra visa, no ticket. So I think that means money in Russian, if I'm not mistaken. I think that means money. I am so sorry I did not look that up, but I think that means money. So since she doesn't have any money, she just says, when the guy closes the door on her. But the but this nice old woman tells her to go see Dmitri. He can help. And then Anya says, where can I find him? And then the nice old woman says, at the old palace. But you didn't hear it from me. Go, go, go. So she asks directions to the old palace while Dmitri is having trouble interviewing girls that look like Anastasia, and they reach the last girl and they cannot find a lookalike, not knowing that when they were walking across the street, they bumped into her, and she was asking to directions to where the castle is. So, thanks to Puka, the dog, which she calls the dog. So thanks to Puka, she actually has to break the door down because Puka has slid his way in there, and he slid his way under a table. So she actually has to tear the wood apart. So when the wood breaks, only Dmitri, hears this noise. And he is staying in the palace. Like, okay. I got a question. I know the palace. I know the palace is forbidden and nobody lives there, but how did you get in, Dimitri? How did you get in? 'Cause I heard Glad said that he only got them cars to go to Paris. So he got them a baggage car on a train to go to Paris. But here's the thing. If something is abandoned and forbidden to go into, how did they get in? Because when something is forbidden, the bank usually has never mind. As I was saying, Anna is still looking for Anna is still looking for her dog Puka, who she adopted from under the snow. So she is still looking for her dog, and she is in the castle, her family home, and she starts singing the lullaby that her grandmother has sung to her. So she starts singing the lullaby. So she starts singing the lullaby. And then she starts to imagine that all the photos are coming to life and her family is back and the family is dancing with her and having a ball. And then her uncle Nicholas is there dancing with her, and she has now transformed into a beautiful ball gown and a crown to show that she really is Anastasia. And like, I just love the 2D animation and the 3D animation and how all the paintings come to life. And the paintings come to life, and her and her uncle dance together. I just really think it's sweet. And then at the end, she bows to the king. And then at and then when she is bowing, everything stands still. And love I just love the camera reaction, and I just love the visuals in the ballroom scene. It's just so amazing. And after she is done bowing, um, all the ghosts disappear back into their paintings, and Dimitri says, "Hey, you! What are you doing in here?" And then Anya tries to run away, but then Dimitri realizes that she looks like Anastasia from the painting. And so, and so, Dimitri and Glad start talking her up and saying, "You look just like her. You resemble her even." And then they say, and then they say, "You have the same blue eyes, Nicholas's smile, Alexandra's chin. Oh, and look, she even has the grandmother's hands." And then and then and then and then Anastasia says, "Look, I knew you were crazy from the beginning, but now you are both mad." And then before this, Anya explained how she doesn't remember her past, that she was found wandering around when she was 8 years old. And then Dimitri says, well, that's actually perfect. So, with this in mind, with getting tickets to go to Paris, they actually said, "Oh, you want to go to Paris? Oddly enough, we are going to Paris ourselves." And I have three. Actually, the fourth ticket is no good. But I have three tickets here. Sadly, the third one is for her, Anastasia. And while he is telling her that he has three tickets, he is waving it up in the air in her face, like teasing her, like, dude, no, no. And then, and then And then she kind of does some thinking about it, and she was like, "I don't know, you guys." And so they walk away, but Dimitri says, "Hang on, give it a second. Glad, walk a little slower, because we got this." And like in the palm of his hand, when he counted to 3 in his head, Anya said, "Wait, if I don't remember who I am, who's to say that I'm not a princess or a duchess or whatever she is, right? And if I'm not Anastasia, the Empress will certainly know right away, and it's just an all, it's just, it's all just an honest mistake." And then Dimitri says, "Sounds possible." And then God says, "But if you are the princess, you will finally know who you are and have your family back." So they all agree to go to Paris, but Dimitri tries to get rid of Dimitri tries to get rid of Puka, my poor baby Puka. He tries to get rid of the cute little dog. But Anya tells him, "What are you talking about? The dog goes." And then Dimitri says, "I'm allergic to dogs. The dog is not going." And I'm like, "Dimitri, just let the dog go. Just let the dog go on the just let the dog go on the train with you. It's not gonna hurt you. Just let the dog go." So while so while this is happening, and while they are getting ready to go, all the while watching this is Bertok from way up on his shelf with the reliquary that belonged to Rasputin. And then Bertok says, "Anastasia, one problem with that fella. Anastasia's dead. All the Romanovs are dead. Am I right, my friend? Like, how could that be?" And then Bertok takes a really good look at her, and he realizes that that is Anastasia. And then the reliquary comes back to life, and then Bertok says, "Wait a minute. If dead things can come back to life, that must mean Anastasia's alive. Hey, that's her," he says, when he finally sees her, because a, because the little bat ghost came back to life to put Bertok upside down. But Bertok says, "Okay, okay, I get the message. Enough with the glowing and the smoke, people." And then he had to do some thinking like, wait, if dead things come back to life, that must mean Anastasia's alive. So, seeing Anastasia, the reliquary actually takes him to Rasputin in the underground. Well, not the underground, but Limo. They take him to Limbo, where Rasputin is waiting. And then Bertok tells her, and then Bertok tells him that Anastasia is alive. And then we get this wonderful song by Rasputin saying, "In the dark of the night," and he is saying how he is going to take care of Anastasia. He is going to make sure that he gets Anastasia like he got all the Romanovs. And let me tell you, "In the Dark of the Night" is really catchy. So their first transportation is a train. So with the train, the little green bats from the reliquary, they come out and try to mess with the train. Meanwhile, Anya and Dmitri, they are not getting along because Dmitri can't get the window seat because Puka the dog is sitting there. And Dmitri keeps telling Anya to mess stop messing around with her necklace and stop playing with it and sit up straight. Remember, you're a Grand Duchess, he says. And then Dmitri and 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 then Anya says, Dmitri, how do you know what Grand Duchesses do and don't do? And then Dmitri says, I make it my business to know. Look, Anya, I'm just trying to help, alright? And then Glad says, what's going on here? And then Anya says, do you really think I'm royalty? And then Dmitri says, you know I do. And then she says, well, stop bossing me around. And then she sticks his and then she sticks her tongue out at him when Glad says she certainly have a mind of her own. And then Dmitri says, yeah, I hate that in women. And then Anya sticks her tongue out at Dmitri. And then she and 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 then Dmitri finds her reading a book and he tries to apologize, but then Anya tells him, can we not talk anymore? Really, it's only gonna accept it's only going to upset me. And then he says, fine, I'll be quiet. And then Anya says, fine, I'll be quiet. And then she acts it, and then Anya asks if he is gonna miss Russia because that was his home. And then Dmitri says, nope. It was the place I once lived in the story. And then Anya says, well, then you must be planning on making Paris your trip home. And then Anya says, what is it with you and Holmes? For one thing, and then Anya says, for one thing, it's one thing that everybody wants. And for another thing, it's a place where you know, and then and then Glada walks in, and then Anya says, "Thank goodness it's you. Just please remove Dmitri out of my sight." And then Glad asks Dmitri, "What have you done to her?" And then Dmitri says, "Me, it's her." And then she says, "Ha!" And then she walks off. And then Glad says, "Oh no, an unspoken attraction." And to Puka, because he's carrying Puka. He says, "Oh no, an unspoken attraction." And then Dmitri hears him, and Dmitri says, "Attraction to that skinny little bread? Have you lost your mind?" Attraction, ridiculous. So he walks off too. And while Anya is sleeping, Glad finds out that everything is in red with the passport. So when you see red, glad means that it that means that it's really, 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 really bad. Because it's red with the passport, so they gotta get off this train. So he shows it to Dimitri. Dimitri tries to wake Anya, but Anya ends up punching him in the nose. But it's okay, and they are off to the um the baggage car where it is freezing cold. And then Anya questioned it, and she says, "The baggage car? Now there wouldn't be anything wrong with our papers, now would there, Maestro?" And then Dimitri says, "Of course not, Your Grace. I would just hate to see you force a mingle with all those commoners." So, with the green bat control, so with the green bats being in control of the train, they actually, they actually, they actually break apart the train, and then Dimitri bumps into Anya by accident, and then she ends up kicking Dimitri in the foot. And then Glad says, "Oh, Dimitri, I think somebody has caught fire to our engine." So Dimitri goes to check it out, and it turns out that everything is on fire and nobody is driving the train. And so Dimitri said that they are gonna have to jump. And then Anya says, "Did you say jump? After you then?" When 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 they open the door and they know that they have to jump off of the moving train, and then so the next plan is to just to actually disconnect to actually disconnect um one of the cars to a train. So when the bats hear this, they actually like they actually make the car to the train like the like really 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 like really really like really 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 hard to break. So again, the genius dog is leading her to her past because it is the dog who finds dynamite to break apart the car. So they put dynamite on the car, and then they run, and say, "Go, go, 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 go." And then they shield themselves, and then the other car breaks. And so they ended up jumping off of the moving train car. And the moving train car just goes bumbling down to the end of the cliff, and while it's on fire. And Dimitri says, "I hate trains. Remind me never to get on the train again." And while watching, Dimitri and Anya and Glad get off safely. Rasputin gets so upset that he hollers, and he actually shakes his neck and dislocates his head so he can shake his neck, and then he goes into his body and he says, "You know, I have a thought here, Bird Talk. I'm gonna have to kill her myself in person. And then, and then, this is when Bertok says, "You mean physically?" And then he says, "Yes." But Bertok says, "But that means gone topside." And he says, "Exactly. I have so many fond memories in Paris. And killing one of the Romanovs with my own hands will be so delicious." But, but, Bertok does remind him that he is dead. And how does he respect to get in Paris in one piece? And then, and then, and then, and, and, and then Rasputin says, "I thought we take the train." So they take the train, and and while they are traveling, we actually get a second song. We actually get a second song by everyone themselves, Glad, Anya, and Dimitri. Then, "If I can learn to do it." And they are traveling, and they are traveling on foot. And Glad actually spills the beans about his girlfriend, Sophie, who is the cousin of the Empress. And then Anya finds out that and then Anya finds this out, and she decides that she doesn't want to lie, and that, um, and, and then, And then, after Dimitri talks it through with her, she says, "But look at me, Dimitri. I am not, I am not actually Grand Duchess material here." Ugh. So, Glad had to talk with her, and I enjoy this talk that he has with her, because he tells her that she is beautiful and that he has known his share of royalty because he was a member of the imperial court. And so Glad actually convinces her by saying, if you if you go back to St. Petersburg, there's nothing left for you, my dear. Everything is in Paris. And then so she agrees, and then she says, "Gentlemen, start your teaching." So they tell her all about her past, and actually getting she is actually getting the lessons up fast. The horseback riding, the horseback riding, the bike riding, the horseback riding, the bike riding, and now they are boarding a boat to get to Paris. So on the boat, when they go sailing, Dimitri actually buys her a dress so they can teach her how to waltz. And so she makes a so so the dresses the dress that they give her, it actually has a ribbon on the back. So she cuts the ribbon out, and she actually puts it in her hair to make herself a ribbon to go on her hair. And she looks absolutely beautiful the way that she designed that dress. And then her and Dimitri, they waltz together while Glad is singing that one a song called "I Never Shall Us 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 Us." Uh, a, a song called "I Never Should Have Let Them Dance" because the because Dimitri and Anya are slowly falling in love because he complimented it on her dress. He's getting all nervous and they almost kiss. If it wasn't for the dog barking, the dog the dog barked. The dog barked, and I think that ruined the kiss because Dimitri ends up pausing and he says, "You're doing fine." And he pats her hand. And then the night when she is sleeping, Rasputin gets inside her mind with with the little green bats once again, and she has a dream of her childhood and how they all used to go swimming down by the lake. And so when Dimitri was in the dream, he went swimming with her cousins and all her family, right? And then when it was time for her to jump into the water, she could actually see the little green bats in her dream. And since she was sleepwalking, the dog actually came and rescued her. That's my doggy right there. The puppy actually came to rescue her because he could see her sleepwalking with the bats controlling her every memory. And with her eyes closed, she doesn't know what she was doing because she was sleepwalking. And she was sleepwalking off the boat. And she was about to jump into the water. But the dog woke up Dimitri in time too, because he ran out there and he saved her life. And then when he tried to wake Anastasia up, she realized that there was a Romanov curse on the family. The one that Rasputin had put on her family. And then Dmitri tells her that it was only a dream, it's alright, you're safe now. Because she started to cry she because because she remembers it all. And she says, "I keep seeing faces, so many faces." And so when that doesn't work, Rasputin decides, "Yeah, I'm going down there because this isn't working." So meanwhile, when they are on their way to Sophie and the Queen is getting a visit by another imposter who tells her that she is Anastasia, and then and then and then and then the one and then and then the grandmother says, "Haven't you got anything better to do?" So the young lady who was pretending to be Anastasia, I think she talked too much because that grandmother knew exactly what she was gonna say next. And the grandmother says, "That's it. My heart can't take it anymore. I will see no more girls claiming to be Anastasia." And Sophie actually says that they won't be fooled next time, but keep this in mind that the Empress doesn't want to do it anymore. So keep this in mind. So they finally make it to Sophie's, and she finally meets Anya. And then while the interview is going on, The poor puppy is so stressed out. Like he is messing up the flowers. Like he keeps walking back and forth. Like even the puppy's nervous. It's so cute. So with the last question, Sophie actually asks her, "How did you escape during during siege during the siege of the palace?" And then Anya remembered that there was a boy that worked in the palace. He opened a wall. And that's when Dimitri knew that she was the real deal because he was the little boy that she met all those years ago. He is the little boy who got them out. He was the little boy who worked in the palace. So that's when Dimitri knew that she was actually Anastasia, the lost princess, that her grandmother has been searching for all these years. So Sophie actually, so so Glad asked Sophie, his girlfriend, because I forgot to mention that they were dating. So, Glad asked Sophie, well, is she a Romanov? And then Sophie says, well, she answered every question. And then Glad gets happy, and then he tells Anya, did you hear that, child? You did it. And so Glad asked Sophie, so when do we go and see the Empress? And then Sophie says, I'm afraid you don't. The Empress will certainly not allow it. And so Glad tries to talk her into it by Glad tries to talk her into it by flip by 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 flirting with her. And Sophie says, well, do you like the Russian ballet? The the Dowager Empress and I love the Russian ballet. We never miss it. And so their plan is for them to all meet at the Russian ballet, and they will sneak Anya in to have a meeting with her grandmother. So they go shopping for the ballet, and Dimitri ends up. Okay, so they go shopping for the ballet, and Dimitri tells Glad that Anya is the real deal, that she is the princess, that she has found her family, and Glad tries to tell him, but you, and then he says, it's not about me. And princesses don't marry kitchen boys. And then he tells God, we are going to go through with this as if nothing has changed. And then Glad tells Dimitri that he has got to tell Anya the truth. And then Anya overhears this. And then Anya says, tell me what? And then Dimitri says, how beautiful you look. Oh, and then she says, thank you. Because she had that beautiful, beautiful blue and heavy coat on, but it was like a beautiful, beautiful blue with like with with like white fur on the top and on the sleeves. And then when she took the coat off, she had this beautiful purple dress on. Oh my gosh, it was just so stunning. And then she had the white gloves and the bun, and then and then the bang, and then the bang was, oh, it was so beautiful. And he was so stunned by it. Like, it took him 5 seconds to stop staring. And then they they went up to see the ballet while her majesty Her Majesty, the Empress, was sitting right across from them, and Sophie saw them, and Sophie gave them a little wave. And then all Anya was doing was paying attention to the Empress, that she got so nervous that she actually destroyed the program. And then and 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 then Dimitri actually had to take her hand and says everything is gonna be fine. And so they came up to the door. Anya got so nervous that she started to walk away, and then Dimitri had to catch her back and and then he had to say, "Take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be fine." So Dimitri tries to explain that he has found the granddaughter Anastasia, but the queen doesn't want to hear it because she has been searching for so long. And so, when Sophie steps out to give them privacy, he tries to say, "My name is Dimitri. I used to work in the palace." And then, and and then the Empress says, "Well, if that's what I haven't heard, I must say." And then she puts the program down and she's about to walk out. And then Dimitri says, "Please, Your Highness, we have traveled all the way from Russia just to see you." And then the Queen says, "And others have come from Timbuktu. And how much pain are you going to put in on an old woman for money?" And then the queen realizes that she has heard of him, that he was that con man from St. Petersburg who was trying to find an Anastasia look-like. Meanwhile, Anastasia hears all of this, and she finds out that they just found her to make it look like her and sound like her and act like Anastasia. But not knowing that she is the real Anastasia, the queen doesn't know what she's saying because that's the real Anastasia outside that door. But since her heart's been broken so many times, I do understand her frustration. Because her heart's been broken so many times. I understand what she is feeling. I understand what she is going through. Like, she has lost her grandchild. She does not. She does not want another disappointment. So she has Dimitri. So she has Dimitri removed, and Anya hearing and Anya hearing all of this, she actually tells Dimitri to leave her alone, and then Dimitri tries to fix it and and, and tries to tell Anya. In the beginning, it started off that way, but you really are the Grand Duchess Anastasia. You are. And then Anya tells him, "Just stop. From the very beginning, you lied, and I am, and I am, and I didn't even honestly trust you. I actually." And then I thought she was gonna say like, but she didn't. And then she tried. And then he tries to tell her the truth yet again that he was the little boy, but she actually ended up slapping him and telling him to leave her alone while stomping away all upset and to go pack her bags. She is going to pack her bags because she is going home. So he actually kidnaps the Grand Duchess and he actually takes her to Anya's hotel, and Dimitri actually gives her the jewelry box and actually says, "Look, I know you've been hurt, but isn't it possible that she has been lost and as alone as you?" And then the grandmother asks, "You'll stop at nothing, will you?" And then Dimitri says, I am probably about as stubborn as you are." Oh, and Dimitri gives her the music box that he found all those years ago. And the grandmother actually remembered giving her the music box when she was a little girl, and the necklace. She remembers both. She actually she actually remembers both gifts that she has given to her. So, with this in mind, the Empress actually goes to talk to her, and all Anya says is, "I just want to know who I am. Whether or not I belong to a family, your family." And then the Empress says, "You are a very good actress. Best yet, in fact, but I have had enough." And so she walks away. And then Anya smells peppermint on her hands. And then she remembers this memory and she says, "Yes, I smelled that bottle of peppermint. The the carpet was soaked. And I used to lie there. I I used to lie there on that rug, and oh how I missed you when you went away. When you came here to Paris." And then the grandmother actually had the seat right next to Anastasia. And then she recognizes the necklace. And then she actually asked Anastasia if she could borrow the necklace. And Anastasia says she's had that necklace ever since she could remember. So So Anya actually gives her grandmother the necklace, and then the grandmother actually opens the music box, and then they end up singing the lullaby at the same time, and then they realize that they have found each other after all these years, and then they're just hugging and crying at the same time. And sweet Dimitri says nothing. He just blows a kiss up to the building, like, "Goodbye, my love." He says, like, "Goodbye, my love." Like, he doesn't actually say it, but the way he just blows the kiss up to the building, like, and then he just walks away with his suit and his little top hat. Sweet, sweet memories. And while they are giggling and laughing and sharing pictures and memories, the grandmother actually gives her granddaughter the crown that her mother wore. And she says that you have the beauty of your mother, Alexandra, Empress of all Russia. So, when she puts the crown on her, it actually transforms into the next day where she is wearing this beautiful dress, and Dmitri is there to get his 10 million rubles, his his 10 million rubles. So like the $10 million that they were promised if anyone if anyone could find Anastasia. And then he says, I accept your gratitude, Your Highness, but I don't want the money. And then and then and and then the queen tells him, and then and and then this is when the queen asks him, well, what do you want then? You saved her life and mine, and you returned her to me. Yet you want no reward. And then Dmitri says, not anymore. I I um I don't want the reward anymore. And then and then this is when the queen asks, why the change of mind? And then Dmitri says, it's more of a change of heart. I must go, Your Highness. And then he bows and then he walks away. And then and then and and then and then and then and then and then a royal court, and then someone from the royal court tells Dmitri that he will bow and address the princess as Your Highness. And then Anastasia says, no, that's not necessary. And then Dmitri holds up his hands and says, please, Your Highness, I'm glad that you found what you were looking for. And then Anastasia says, yes, I'm glad you did too. And then, oh God, Dmitri says, I must go, Your Highness. And then Dmitri says goodbye, and then Anya says, the saddest goodbye I have ever heard. And then in the next scene, Glad is getting ready for 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 for, for like the ball, because he is dressed in a suit, and he is saying goodbye to Dmitri. And then Glad tells Dmitri, oh my boy, you are making a mistake. And then Dmitri says, trust me, this is the one thing I'm doing right. And then he even says goodbye to the dog, and even the dog doesn't want him to go. And then Dmitri tells the dog, I can't stay, I don't belong here. And I'm like, yes, you do. And then while he is on the train, okay, no, not the train. While he is in line, he finds this flower that reminds him of Anya, and he sniffs it, and then he just ends up being so happy. So remember the scene where he was at the train station, because we see him at the train station, right? Okay, so while they are gonna go out to the ball, the grandmother realizes that that Anya is is actually that Anya is actually looking for Dimitri, and then that and the grandmother says he's not there, and then Anastasia says, "Oh, I know he's not," and then and then and then and and then Anastasia says, "Who's not there, Grandmama?" And and then and then the grandmother says, "A remarkable young man who found a music box." And then and 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 then Anya says, "Oh, he's probably just off spending his reward money as fast as he can." And then her grandmother tells her to look at them dance. "You were born into this world of of, glitter and jewels and and fine titles, but I wonder if this is what you really want." And then Anya and and then Anya says, "Of course it is. I found out who I am. I found you." And then the grandmother says, "Yes, you did find me, and you'll always have me, but is it enough?" And then she tells Anya the truth that he did not take the money, and and um and the grandmother says, "Seeing you as a grown up, seeing the woman you have and seeing the woman that you have become gives me joy I never thought I could feel again. But but I want you to know, whatever you choose, we will always have each other." So, with that in mind, Anya is about to go out there, but it turned out that Puka had found his way into the garden, so Anastasia goes to get him, and and she bumps into Rasputin, who destroys her pretty dress and tries to crumble the bridge so Anastasia would fall, but it's Dimitri to the rescue, because he runs up there, punches Rasputin in the face, while Dimitri is trying to save Anastasia by pulling her back up, and then and then Rasputin it Rasputin actually uses the reliquary to control stone and to make it into a horse, and to make Dimitri fly on it. But Dimitri ends up fighting it, and um then Rasputin ends up dropping Anya into the lake, but she's fine because she climbs her way back up. And even Puka the dog is trying to fight Rasputin by biting his leg, but he actually uses one of the green bats on Puka, and then Anya ends up beating up Rasputin, and Puka actually and Puka actually uses the green bat to fly off of the green bat and to get the green bat up into the air so Puka could fly and get the reliquary and put it under Anastasia's leg. So Anastasia smashes the reliquary. Oh, are you guys worried about Dimitri? Don't be, he he actually got hit by a very big rock. So yeah, he actually got hit by a very big rock. So he's got a concussion. So with that in mind, so when Dimitri gets hit, Anya takes this opportunity to step on the reliquary, and every time she is stepping, she says, "This is for Dimitri. This is for my family. And this is for you, Dusty Danya." And then when she smashes on it for the final time, Rasputin actually gets taken by the the green bats that were in the reliquary, and the um yeah Rasputin ends up being a skeleton again, and he ends up becoming dust. And okay, Dimitri is still lying on the ground, and Anya is crying because she wants to know if Dimitri's okay. And even the dog is sad because the dog starts howling, but Dimitri starts getting up, but Anya accidentally hits him like she did before, but she's just so happy she doesn't care that she hugged him so tight. And then Anya says, "I thought you were going back to St. Petersburg." And then Dmitri said, "I was." So when we saw him at the train station, he didn't really go on. The train. He came back for Anya because he loves Anya. So, and then and then when he says "I was," Anya says, "You didn't take the," and then Dimitri says, "I couldn't," and then Anya says, "Why?" And then Dimitri says, "Because I," and then they were almost about to kiss when Puka interrupted them to to give give Anya her crown. And then Dimitri takes it from Anya, and he says, "They're waiting for you." And then it's in Anya's hands, but then it's in the grandmother's hands, and 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 Anastasia wrote a note saying, "Dear Grandmama, we will be together in Paris soon. Wish me luck. Happy in two." So I guess in French that means goodbye. Well, I, well, I, well, I, well, I, I guess in Russian that means goodbye, happy and two. But it turned out that that Dum, that Dmitri and Anya eloped to get married. and they are on a ship and they are dancing for the first time together since she figured out that she was a princess. And then Dimitri grabs her and spins her around on the boat. And then it turned out that Bird Talk is there too. And that he meets another bat that is a girl because she is pink. And they end up dancing and falling in love. And that is the end of the movie. I have I have one question for you guys. If you were on its age, would you go back for that music box? That's the only one question that I have. And just please leave your answer in the comments. Would you go back for that music box? Leave your answer leave your answer in the comments. And bye, and see you guys in my next video. Bye.